Welcome to Resiliency The Podcast. What does it mean to have life break open in a single moment? And to discover that the strength that you need is already inside you, waiting quietly to rise. In today's episode, we're going to be exploring a story that begins with just an ordinary evening, followed by an unexpected loss. A husband not feeling well after an evening of tennis. A night of rest that was supposed to make things better. And then a moment that changed everything. This is the story of a young mother who was thrust overnight into grief, solo parenting, and the weight of rebuilding a life that she never imagined having to rebuild. And it's also the story of a really beautiful resilience that emerged without her permission. Today, her journey has become a blueprint for others. She's given a TEDx talk. She has a book called The Art of the Bounce Back, 31 Days of Resilient Living, and she has a company, the Elevate Group, which she founded to nurture and sustain those who spend their lives caring for their communities. Today's guest reminds us that resilience is not something that we find after the storm. It's something that we live inside, often without even realizing it. I am so honored. My heart is truly touched to welcome this amazing, resilient person. Please welcome Miss Elle Davis. Elle, welcome.
First of all, Jenn, you are doing every introduction from here on out for anything that I do.
Girl, take me with you. I love you.
Listen, I'm like, who is that? Who is she talking about? Oh, that's me. That's me. I am here for it. Thank you. I'm so excited to join you and Dr. Kelly. I cannot wait for this conversation.
Oh, Jenn is a killer when she does her introduction. She's absolutely a killer, but she does that because she has fabulous content with which to work, Elle. You make it
Dr.
special
Kelly.
and spectacular. So we are super thrilled that you're here today, and we have lots in common with you, whether you realize it or not. But let's start out with the thing that we ask everybody. What does resiliency mean to you?
So resiliency, and I could not find it before we did this podcast, but I have a little squishy toy that my daughter used to play with as a kid. You know, like you can take the little toy, it balls up in your hand, and then when you let it go, it like comes back to life. But here's the thing, like it comes back with these little tears. There's a little tear around the neck. There's a little tear under the arm. And I reckon resilience to that. It's us coming back into our full form, but not without a few heartbreaks, right? A few tear stains, a few bruises along the way, but we're still coming back into ourselves. So that is how I like describe resilience to other people. That's why the title of the book is The Art of the Bounce Back, because it's like, how do you come back into life after life has truly knocked you down in lots of different ways?
I want to keep you talking because you have the story and the story lives within you and everything you're saying is beautiful. You have said that resilience is a superpower that emerges without our permission. You certainly, your story certainly reflects that. Will you take us back to the moment that you found this inside yourself, that you realized you were the squishy ball? Take us back to that moment and what happened inside yourself.
So, Jenn, that's a great question because I don't know if I know the moment. I know the moment that folks called me resilient, and that was the moment that 9 days after my husband passed, I was able to speak at his funeral. And, here we go. I didn't bring the tissue close by, but
We have space for you.
I'm like, woo. Some days I get by telling the story very easily. Other times it's like a full ball of emotion. But I knew in my heart that I could not celebrate my husband's life without being present on the stage to talk about what he meant to me and my daughter and how we navigated life. So that was super important to me. And, you know, one of the things that we did at his funeral is his favorite color was green. And so I never liked green prior to my husband passing. But I found myself, green also being my superpower. I found myself wearing green often when I would speak or if I had a big presentation. And so I think the resilience coming to me without my permission was at his funeral. It was giving me the space to say, you can talk about your life, you can talk about this experience, and you will continue to talk about this experience. And then I don't think I felt it until probably years later when I was like doing the work, when I was in therapy, when I was, making sure that my daughter was okay. And then I'm like, oh, I'm like looking around at myself like, you're doing this thing. Like you're still going, even though the love of your life has gone on, you are still moving, you are still pushing. And I think I still recognize that every single day that I live. I still am like recognizing the resilience that shows up in my life.
Yes, it does. And it comes from the most interesting places at
Mhm.
the weirdest of times. And it manifests itself in things you never, ever would expect.
Absolutely.
Dr. Kelly, I have a thought and I wanted to bring us in that direction if you would, but I feel like Elle's the love that you just shared is so beautiful, and I was
Mhm.
overcome and I needed to take a minute after because you shared something so beautiful, but it really connects in a way to something Dr. Kelly and I connected on very early in our relationship, which was I'm not even going to pivot it on Dr. Kelly having a loss, but she had a loss in her life, which she can share as
Mm.
she sees fit. But one of the things we talked about, and this is what I want to draw us to, is these symbols of strength. And Dr. Kelly
Mhm.
has talked about for herself that one of her symbols of strength is a red dress, but then also
Mm.
some pants of steel. And when I think of you, Elle, in your green, that's what I see. I see this soldier, this warrior who
Mhm.
picked up and put on that green and stood there and spoke. And I think I want to sit for a minute in this maybe it's the external symbolism of resilience, or it's the like that is important. This is so important because Elle, you did move forward, and we're going to talk about all these things you've done. But the people who
Mhm.
are listening, who may be going through grief, who may be new to their losses, let's talk for a minute about what that means.
Well, first off, you said warrior, and I don't know if all the viewers are going to be able to see this that are watching the podcast, but this is a bracelet that literally says warrior,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
So that's first
Yes.
off. I was in a leadership program called Willie's Warriors, named after a fierce advocate, and that is one of the things that we got at the end of the fellowship. And so I wear that bracelet often. To remind me that I am a warrior. And I also today have on a bracelet that reminds me that I'm resilient. And so it literally says resilient on there. So sometimes we need those physical things. So whether it's a green, whether it's a red dress, whether it's pants of steel, whatever they are, sometimes we just need those things to remind us like who we are. And it depending upon the day, some days I wear the bracelet so I can read what it says, not for others to read it, but so that I can remind myself. So it's those kinds of things that I tell listeners, that I tell people that I come in contact with. It may not be the big things. You may not need to do anything small, but you may need to buy yourself a resilient bracelet. You may need to buy yourself a warrior bracelet, and that's okay.
Eh, It is. It absolutely is. Through the journey that I have had, warrior, yes, I worked through grief through action. And I found in the last year that I've put the warrior to bed. She comes out every now and then, but she's asleep
Mhm.
at the moment because I've moved more into sovereign.
Yes. Come
I've
on,
reached
Dr.
a different
Kelly.
spot.
Tell us
Come
more. Tell us more about
Well, it's
Sovereign. We
not
need to
about
hear
me.
this.
Today is
Yes.
about Elle.
I
But
know, but
all
we
I
need
was
this. So we need a little bit of
Girl,
sovereignty. We need it.
bring us some sovereignty. Exactly.
Well, I have realized that my husband passed away as well, different context, different situation. It'll be 6 years ago this year at Christmas, on
Mm,
Christmas Day, in fact.
mm,
Um, and I've realized that I am somebody completely different now through a series of events and decisions that I made, choices that I made to have grief through action to get to where I am now. And I don't have to fight anymore. I don't have to fight to
Mm.
protect anybody, to look after anybody, to take care of myself. And in doing that, I've let go that warrior spirit and I've moved into a plane where I am more sovereign in who I am and what I do, how I behave, and like the fabulous world that's out there in front of me. She's a very different person today than she was. And so the warrior, she comes out every now and then, but I put her to bed because I don't
I
need her.
love that. Ooh, yes. I love that.
Well, me too, because it shows us the levels. It shows us the depth. It shows us, in my head, I'm seeing like sand that's different colors. We
Mm.
are these layers. And so Dr. Kelly, I will swing it back around to Elle because Elle did have a different story. And this is what's so interesting. Dr. Kelly was very much an adult with grown family by the time she experienced hers. Elle, you have a child at this time. And how old was your child at the time of your husband's passing?
She was only 2, like literally had just turned 2 a month prior.
Oh,
Mhm.
my love.
Mhm. So that was the yeah, that was the challenge for me is like, what am I supposed to do with this 2-year-old now as a solo parent?
Well, and really, and this is where I'll guide you to a question because this is where some real inspiration can come from all that sediment. You mentioned you wear your warrior bracelet sometimes just for you to see. You you didn't have the choice to only be resilient for you. You had to be resilient for a 2-year-old. And then I can imagine the weight of how will I carry this for both of us? And how will I infuse his love into hers? And how will I bring all of that? What got you through from that perspective? We know what got you through getting up and speaking and needing for you, but how did you view it becoming a solo parent? And then what did you discover about yourself? Who did you become through that?
Yeah, that's a powerful question. And what I have to say first and foremost, especially as people listen to the story, like it's a beautiful story now where we're thriving. But I was angry. I was very angry. I was hurt. I stood in a church and said that I was angry at God, regardless of what you believe and where you believe. But I literally said those words because I needed people to know that I wasn't like, oh, I'm okay. Let's go on with life. It was very much, I was hurt. I was angry. I was frustrated. I was disappointed, all the things that you can imagine. And so, even though I had all of those things, as having a background in social work, I think definitely propelled me forward because in my mind, I knew, okay, there are things that I have to do so that I can cope, so that I can get to the next phase and to get to the next step. I tell people hands down all the time, I did not do this alone. I did this with community. I did this with people showing up at my door, making sure that my daughter was taken care of, making sure that she got to childcare, making sure that she had clothes, had food, making sure that I got moments away and, babysat. My mom on Sundays, I would go to church. My mom would come to church with me, take my daughter, go to her own church, and then keep her for a few more hours on a Sunday. So it was those moments that really got me through and kept me going, and me recognizing that, this is something that we can do with community. The person that I became was much stronger than I ever thought that I was. And to Dr. Kelly's point around sovereignty, I don't know that I wanted to be that strong person, but I had to be. I was forced to be so that my daughter would grow up and still thrive and feel healthy and not feel like she missed out on anything, because there were moments where I'm like, I don't want her to only have my perspective. I wanted her to have my husband's perspective because we saw life very different and I wanted her to have that. And so I still struggle with that. She'll be 14 on March 8th and I still struggle with her not having her dad's perspective on life.
As well, it makes perfect sense because, and we talk about this a lot too. Resilience is it's not a destination; it's a state of being. It's a move through. And so, you talked about feelings of anger and hurt and
Mm-hmm.
grief. I want to comment on. I think it's so interesting because I am a person of faith, and we talk about that in different ways here. But it is so interesting because you do get very angry at the universe and God and whoever. I think that it's perfectly justified and understandable. I just want to comment on what I heard because it's what I've seen in my life through God, or for any listeners, superpower, universe, whatever it may be to you, is that even when you stand in the face and say, I am angry with you, he still shows up. And he showed up in your mom taking your child. He showed up in the community helping. Like, that's how, and again, I say he, that's how I recognize it. I think but that spirit, that energy, and that universal connection always guides us through. And I think sometimes
Absolutely.
I'm suspicious from a deep standpoint. Sometimes I'm suspicious that is the primary reason we are here on this earth, that like our spirits come into our body because we have to learn that we actually don't need anything. Everything is already here for us. We already have what we need in the people around us. So that's a little
Yeah,
thinking on the Jenn side.
That's interesting. I love that because I'm in a business community, and they always say everything you need is already in the room. And so it just
Girl.
reminds me of that.
Okay, see this. Okay, let's stay here then. Thank you. I'm so glad you picked up on that, because that's in business, everything you need is already in the room. In self, everything you need is already inside you. This is okay. Elle, thank you for coming to Resiliency the podcast. Like, thank you, because you're nailing it. Dr. Kelly, what have you got? What you got?
It's true, and it doesn't matter the context. I was just sharing with Elsa before the recording. I've just come back from working with the government of St. Kitts with Prime Minister and his cabinet on big economic changes and stuff like that, and we agreed everything we need already is around the table. It's you have these assets in your hand. You just have to look at them and recombine them and repurpose them, and something amazing and brilliant and shiny and sparkly is going to come out.
Yes, to the shiny and sparkly. Let's go.
Amen. Bring me that glitter. I will take it. Well, and I want to bring us back to another moment in your journey, Ellen. This is kind of where I see your transformation. And again, I know you've done a TEDx talk. You've released a book. You said I used my background in social work to cope. And I'm sure in those beginning days, cope is all that was possible, and that's beautiful. Equally, what I see in you, Elle Davis, is a woman who transmuted that anger and that grief into a company, into a movement, into a passion for helping others and for helping that community. And to me, there's something brilliantly and beautifully resilient within that. First of all, what did you find? What is the company that you do? What is it that you do? And how did you take this personal grief, all of this deepness, and how did you realize, hey, what I need is right here in the room, and that room being your community. What I need is right here in this nonprofit community. How did you find that? Take us through that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So even prior to meeting my husband, I started my career with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Chicago. And that came from like me finishing grad school and saying, I went to grad school, got an MSW, and saying, I wanted to work with young people, but I didn't know if I wanted to do therapy because there's so much that comes with that. And so started my career, Boys and Girls Clubs, had an amazing career, learned like anything under the sun about running a nonprofit, I learned it, right? Like definitely thrown in the deep end, learning everything. And I got laid off in April of 2009. And after getting laid off, I wasn't sure what was next, but one of my previous supervisors said, "Hey, can you start this youth program for me?" Sure, it'll be a consultant role. I got a little taste of consulting and was like, "Oh, this is sweet. Like work when I want to work, make sure I just get the work done." This is my kind of schedule, right? And this was prior to kids and prior to family. So that was great. But then in learning all of that, I just had all of this knowledge and experience. So for about 12 years, I wrote grants just independently. But then along the path, I said, okay, if I'm doing this, I need to do this the right way. Let me start a company. And in 2016, so it'll actually be 10 years this year, I founded the Elevate Group. I know, I'm so excited.
Congrats. That's a huge milestone.
Thank you. Thank you. So I founded the Elevate Group, and primarily initially it was to support nonprofits in multiple ways in their fund development plans, in strategic planning, all of these things. But as I started to get burnt out from grant writing and some of those things, what I noticed is that middle managers in the nonprofit sector get looked over all the time. They get looked over for promotions. They don't get the training and development that they need. And they get promoted because they do really good work, but no one ever teaches them how to lead an organization. And I was an advocate for myself when I was at Boys and Girls Club. So I went to conferences, I went to training, I got all of the knowledge that I wanted, but I know that everyone does not speak up for themselves in that way. So in comes the Elevate Group to be the advocates for those middle managers. We are a company that supports the middle of a company so that they can ascend to senior and executive level leadership, and so that they have the tools and resources that they need to be dynamic leaders because they are impacting the community. So somebody has to help them. That's what we do.
I'm so in. One of the things I actually mentioned in my TEDx talk, and it was very, very gently mentioned, I'd say, but it was kind of this trend toward the middle or the younger cohort of workers who are reticent to move into leadership, who are feeling scared of it or don't want to, but I think that it's the penny on the other side. I guess we don't make pennies anymore here in the US, so it's the coin on the other side. But it's the other side of the coin to say maybe there is something that they need, and I think it's so beautiful that you, and I also think as a business person, I will also just comment, great job on a niche, because so many people go, I just want to help nonprofits, but you have a really clear niche. Now, I want to ask about that work, because what I understand is that it's very kind of cohort based, like you bring these people together and you're working. I'm interested in, like, what have you witnessed? What have you seen occur with this group of people that might demonstrate resilience? Like, how does this look in practice?
Whoa, that is a heavy question. And it looks so different for each cohort depending upon who's working together. But number one, it looks like vulnerability, right? I think that is the biggest thing that it looks like. We often see where folks come together. We just graduated a class in February. And so it was just amazing to see where they came from and where they ended. And so starting off, everyone's very fearful and not sure how to approach, what's happening. What are we going to do for the next 9 months? I don't know. And then when they allow themselves to be vulnerable, they see that anything is possible and change is inevitable. So by the end of the cohort, one of the participants, she's like, I've gotten into jobs and I've been in jobs because, yes, I'm good at it, but I've been undervalued. And she was like, and it's time out for that. She was like, I am making a declaration. I am looking for a new job. I want to make over 6 figures. I am going to make over 6 figures. And we were all like, yes, rallying behind her. We're like,
you're building warriors.
We are going to find that job. I literally just sent her a job posting the other day. Like, we are going to find her next role so that she feels good about that. But it's in that space that she was able to be vulnerable and tell us, like, this is what I need. This is what I have not received before. And I want to get there. I want to get to that place. And these are my people. Like, I love every single person that I come in contact with, or the Elevate Group comes in contact with, no matter what we do, because we are building warriors. We are building people who can advocate for themselves and change the communities, right? They are changing communities every single day.
You know what I really love about what you're saying, especially your focus on middle management in nonprofits or in NGOs, is that generally they're really good, strong technical people. Like, they know their programs, they know how to deliver, they've got all that technical stuff. Like, there's not much you can put past them. It's never their first rodeo. They've always seen, they get it, but we don't develop them to then take those insights to that next level. So what you're doing, when I think of the work that I've done in Canada and here in the UK, it's like you are in a sweet spot that people have typically left behind. So good on you.
Thank you. I'm trying to get everybody else to see it. That's the challenge.
Well, and they will more and more. The more you sow your seeds, the more that, the
Yeah.
more it will grow. I want to comment on something I see that is a parallel between your journey of personal grief and your own family, and then this
Mhm.
amazing business niche that you found that Dr. Kelly's correct has true global need. What I see in it is, in both cases, you saw the need to create space. A lot of people during a grief during a grief event, let's say, and this is just my own observation, but a lot of people will turn away the help, right? Like the community shows up and says,
Mm.
"Hey, can I help you?" And they'll go, "Nah, no, I got this, I got this." And you opened to that. You gave space for yourself, and then you turned around and through the Elevate group, you give space. I think I heard 9 months. I heard vulnerability. A lot of business communities don't do that, and that's why those leaders don't develop. So, how has giving that space influenced you? I'd say on the grief side and also on the business side, as someone, who leads these conversations and does that, how has that impacted you and your journey of resilience, and what do you see ahead through that lens?
What a powerful question. I don't think I've thought about it like that, but you're right. It is about space. It is about giving space and opportunity. I used to use a hashtag. I don't use it as much anymore, but it was called obstacle to opportunity, so that folks can really like take those obstacles of whatever they have and turn them into something beautiful. I think what it does and what it allows is for me to continue to be tapped into what it means to be resilient in different phases of my life. And as I think about my daughter in this way, I'm in Chicago, and anybody that knows anything about the Chicago-based school system, it is a whole process. It is a whole thing to get into like high schools. It's worse than college, quite frankly, to a certain degree. Yeah, it's pretty intense. And so my daughter fortunately got into the high school of her choice, but we were also preparing. What if you do not get into this high school? What does that mean? It doesn't mean that you're less than, doesn't mean that you're not smart. It just means that, there's a whole lot of people trying to get into this high school. And so as I found myself just explaining and preparing her for what would ever come, it's a reminder to me to prepare myself that business is not always going to go the way that I want it to. Things are not always going to happen in the way that I see fit. And so I translate that into the people that I work with as well. I make sure that they know, like, sometimes you're not going to get the job. Sometimes things are not going to happen, but that does not mean that you stop fighting, right? And you keep putting one foot in front of the other. There's a point in the book where I talk about just taking one moment at a time, right? We always take 1 minute at a time or one day at a time. No. Let's back up. Let's literally take it from one moment to the next, because 30 seconds from now, I might feel real different.
Look, I accept. Let's back up. Because sometimes I don't even understand. I'm feeling good. And then the next moment I'm like, why am I weeping? I don't understand.
Because you saw that email, you saw the picture, the sun didn't shine the right way, like whatever it is, right? Like there is something and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a terrible day. So listen.
Moment by moment. Elle, while we're in that, because it's so important, and I love to hear that there's such actionable advice, tell us a little more about this book, The Art of the Bounce Back, 31 Days to Resilient Living. How is it helping readers? And then how did writing it help you?
So I'm gonna start on the last part of that question, because I didn't write it in the traditional way. I love to tell this story about how the Art of the Bounce Back came to be. So actually, at the end of 2021, I believe, I challenged myself to 31 days of social media. And I was like, okay, you need to post something every day. And I didn't just challenge myself to posting. I was like, I'm going to do video. So every day in December, I posted a video around a resilience principle. Videos were 60 to 90 seconds. And after December was done, I was working with the coach and she was challenging us to repurpose content. So I downloaded all of those videos, I uploaded them to be transcribed, and ta-da! The Art of the Bounce Back was born from
Stop
me
it!
posting on social media. Um,
I'm celebrating. For those who can't see me, like if you're just listening to this, I'm like dancing for Elle. That is the coolest story. Continue. Brilliant. Brilliant. Everyone needs this book.
I just, and what I knew, thank you. Yes, everyone needs the book. I actually, my big audacious goal around the book is like to have resilience conversations across the world at kitchen tables where, you know, 1 million people are holding the book and like talking and like, what does it mean to be resilient? How do we navigate the tough times of life? Like, so that's the big audacious goal. However, with that, you know, I wanted the book to be something small that you can carry around, that you can like put in your purse, put it in your jacket pocket, put it in the car. And when you're having a moment, when you go from 30 seconds, you know, and you're great, and then the next 30 seconds you're not, you can turn to one of the pages and say, okay, wait a minute. All right, yes, I have to be transparent. Okay, let me be transparent in this moment and figure out what that means. And so that's how it's helping people. I literally had someone at that closing luncheon that I mentioned earlier with one of the cohorts, I had someone say, oh my goodness, I've been struggling so much. Life has been lifing, as people say. And they said, and your book is helping me so much. And I'm like, oh, that brings sweet sound to my ears, right? I'm like, I love that. When people, or, you know, every now and again, I'll get an email and say, hey, I just wanted you to know I'm actually doing the 31 days right now, because it's written similar to a devotional. It's meant for you to read 5 minutes a day with a practice, and that's it. It's not you sit down at I guess you could sit down at one time and read it all, but it's meant to be every day. And so every now and again, I'll get an email that says, I just want you to know I'm reading The Art of the Bounce Back, and it's really helping me navigate something challenging that I'm going through. So thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful, impactful, important. And then I also just will comment on, I love that you took it from a digital format to a tactile format. I think it is so important that we invest in books, that we actually have those in our hands. So I just love it.
This is really amazing. The fact that you've got a book that people are, you know, like your big, hairy, audacious goal is absolutely phenomenal. But when you get that email and someone says, you changed what I was doing, you changed my perspective, you know, you've impacted that person for the rest of his or her life.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. That's huge, Elle.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly, for that perspective. Yes.
It is. And you then need to carry that with you. That's part of that warrior. You know, it's like carrying with you, because once you reach a certain point in life, I think you are no longer, and maybe it's some of the sovereignty that Dr. Kelly was talking about earlier in the episode, you're no longer trying to get something back. Right? You're not, you know, when you're young and you approach your career, you're like, let's go. You want to hit a certain salary, you want to hit a certain milestone, you're going to get. And I think now you've crossed a threshold once you go through some sort of grief, or once you come to this mindfulness around resilience, where it is about what you give. And so when you have those moments that come back that say, hey, what you're giving connects. What you're giving is working. And that same God that showed up even when you're mad is the same God who only gives you a little of it. You know what I mean? Like you'll get a little bit of this is it, but it's not going to rush. Dr. Kelly and I laugh about it all the time because we're like, you know, like no one's like knocking down our door like, hey, we're the paparazzi's outside for Resiliency the podcast, but we're making a huge difference. And so I applaud you, Elle Davis. I applaud you because the work you're doing and the self-trust that you've developed such that you could make those videos, turn them into a book, and look at what they're doing. I applaud you. I want to ask, we're about to go into my favorite part of the episode, which is rapid fire questions, but I want to ask, do you have any final thoughts, advice? What have we not asked you?
Well, listen, you're applauding me, but listen, that was all scary. That was all very scary, you're talking about vulnerability, the vulnerability to put those videos out, the vulnerability to have that book out. And even sometimes I'll go back and I'll read things and I'll say, oh, I wanted to say that different, or I should have said that in a different way, right? It's the self-judgment and self-critique that sometimes still comes up. And then I have to remember, to Dr. Kelly's point, I have to go back and say, but somebody emailed me, or somebody stopped me and pulled me to the side and said that what they read resonated with them. So guess what? It's okay. Even if you would say it differently today, even if you would do it differently today, what you've already done is okay, and it is helping someone. So continue, because I believe that we are here on earth to be servants to others in some form or fashion. And so if I am serving people through my video, through the written word that I don't like anymore, whatever, through this podcast, then we are here to serve others. And someone is going to hear this message. They're going to hear what we're talking about and say, okay, I can go on another day. I can go on another moment. I can go on another minute. And I'm going to continue to push forward. And really, the only other thing that I'll say is, regardless of what your story is, make sure you're sharing your story with others, because it is in the stories of how we have navigated life that someone else finds their strength, finds their power, and finds their will to continue. So share your story, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how you feel like it's not important. Every single thing that we go through is so that we can share with someone else and help them navigate their life.
My friends, I give space for that answer, because that is some wisdom by Elle Davis. Dr. Kelly, take us into these resilience rapid fires. I got nothing more to add to that brilliance.
Well, alrighty then. Elle, are you ready?
All right, let's go. Let's see.
Okay. So, what's your favorite TV show or movie that makes you feel resilient?
Lean on Me with Morgan Freeman, one of my all-time favorite movies from a kid. I think that everything he did was about resilience in that movie.
And what about a favorite song that makes you either want to get up and dance or feel resilient?
Golden by Jill Scott. She literally, it's like, living my life. I can't sing, y'all, but living my life like it's golden, living my life like it's golden. So it's, it's like you kind of bounce when you hear that song. So
Love it.
You do know that gold is associated with being sovereign. Uh-huh.
Oh, all
right. Come on, Dr. Kelly, let's go.
I love it.
Did you just still clock it, Jen? Did you just do
I did some clocks. She clocked that, baby. She clocked it. Dr. Kelly just clocking it over there.
So you are already there, sweetheart. You are already there.
I love it.
Okay, so what's something that's made you laugh out loud lately?
I went to a comedy show first weekend. Was that, I guess, technically first weekend in March? Yeah, I just went to a comedy show. Mike Goodwin, who's based in, I believe, South Carolina, and he was hilarious. It was just such a good show. So great show. I just went to a comedy show.
And that's cool because, you're having collective laughs with people, and that's a community resilience building moment too.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So if I put my serious hat on for a second, my question for you is, what's a question you'd like to leave for a future guest on Resiliency the Podcast?
Ooh, now that's a good one. So I would like to ask a future guest, if there was a movie about you, who would play you in that movie and why?
What a great question. Killer question. I love it.
Love it.
Now, Elle, I have a question for you that was left by a past guest. It's not quite as fun as the movie one, but it's still a good question.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, the question is this. What are you doing now to step out of your comfort zone?
Ooh, what am I doing now to step out of comfort zone? Well, okay. Whew, look, I gotta breathe.
Need a little space,
little space. So kind of on this like movie path, I curated a widow storytelling exhibit 2 years ago, and I would like to turn that into a documentary. So I am literally like working on and that's way out of my comfort zone because I know nothing about documentaries. I watch movies here and there. I watch documentaries here and there, but like I need to become a better student of the craft to do that. So it's way outside of my comfort zone. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to do it.
I applaud it. I'm excited about it. And I feel like the dreams that
Yay.
are planted deep like that, those are the ones that are so meant to be. That's so cool. Very, very cool. Elle, listen, I've already, I would like to be your friend if we could just continue to hang out together. I think you are very inspirational and very amazing. But I also think that you have such valuable information for so many of our listeners. Where can they find you if they want to get the book, The Art of the Bounce Back, 31 Days of Resilient Living, or if they want to find the Elevate group? How can they find you, engage with you, and learn more about all the wonderful things that Elle Davis is doing?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. So they can go to elledavisspeaks.com is the easiest way to connect, or you can go to elevategroup.us. But Elle Davis Speaks on all platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then the Elevate Group as well. So I'm pretty easy to find out there. Send me a message. I'd love to hear from you and connect.
Fabulous. And we will put all of this into the show notes. For all of our listeners out there, thank you for being with us. If resilience is something that is of interest to you and you're working to grow it, please tune in, like this episode, like us on YouTube, and keep coming back. Resiliency, the podcast, is the place for stories, strategies, and inspiration on how to embrace change, overcome challenges, and really redefine resilience in this ever-changing world. I'm Jenn Quader. You can find me online, JENNQUADER, on all the socials, or my company, The Smart Agency. Our brilliant, amazing, sovereign co-host, Dr. Kelly Culver. She is at theculvergroup.ca. That's .ca for Canada. You can also find her, Dr. Kelly Culver, on LinkedIn and Instagram. My friends, thank you for being with us today. I feel a lot like that ball that Elle Davis talked about at the beginning, the little squishy ball, the one that comes back and has all the little tears. It's imperfect, but it is perfect in its existence because it continues to come back and show up. May you do the same. We wish you resilience. We wish you bounce back, and we wish you good health and happiness. Until the next time on Resiliency, the podcast.